Hello, everyone. My friends, welcome to the program. You're listening to Community Solutions Radio Podcast. I am the voice of the Northwest Suburbs, Andrew Richter, telling you all the things you need to know about what's going on in your neighborhood. Of course, I stand for nothing. I have no ideas, and I'm the dumbest person around, according to some. It's funny, those same people still listen to every word I say. That's really interesting. I'm being joined, as always, by the godfather of local government, the man who's taught me everything I know, but not everything he knows, Mr. Jason Bradley.
That's true. I'm holding back. If I'm the godfather, you're my Fredo, I guess.
I'm Sammy the Bull, and yeah, okay. We're going to take some time here and stick with us on this. Our names have been tossed around a lot by certain elements, let's put it that way. I would say in desperation here in Crystal, and I think it's time that we use our microphone since we have a louder microphone than most to explain to everybody in our words, not in 250 words in an article in the paper or a little bit in passing on a blog. It's just very hard to tell these whole stories here without hearing it from our voices.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think even the most experienced tennis aficionado would have trouble keeping up with the back and forth that has been happening. And so to piece it all together, I think will be helpful for people.
Yeah, and, it sort of began for us with, the whole issue of the mill and overlay project.
Yes. Yeah.
That happened last, it started, some will say it started with me complaining about a certain council member.
Yeah.
And that really is false. It really began with the turmoil that is on the current city council and the folks that are up for re-election.
Plus one.
Kind of being on their heels right now. And Jason, about early June, we had Mayor Adams on the program.
Yes.
On an interview about what was going on. Now, the prominent subject was the mill and overlay project. And just to expand on that a minute, the first area to get the road reconstruction done, I mean, where they literally, which is coming to our neighborhood soon,
yes,
where they literally just redo the roads. The first area to get that back in the mid to late 90s was the Winnetka Hills area, which, if you don't know where that is, the part of Crystal that sticks out into New Hope. 32nd in Boone and 32nd in Winnetka.
Yeah.
That area. And there has to be another coat or something like that put on those streets.
Yeah, what they'll do is scrape the top layer of asphalt off and lay in a new layer. So there's two layers of asphalt, and they'll leave that bottom layer kind of protecting the bed of the road so that they don't have to do a complete reconstruction of it. It'll just be a new top layer.
Yeah, and so that's just part of the process. And that wasn't the only subject we talked about with Mayor Adams. We talked about the funding of a new public works building.
Yep.
We talked about the police were trying to put that, remember that ordinance that they could search your car for any reason or something, or if they saw your keys, they could break into your car.
Yeah.
And, but the mill and overlay was very pertinent because it was a subject that the council was talking about very soon. And Mayor Adams felt, and I would say in retrospect I agree with him, that this was maintenance. This was not you're not getting a new road.
Yeah.
You're not getting a new curb and gutter. You're getting maintenance on top of something you've already paid for.
Yes.
So he wanted to, and again, I would say that without Jim and one or two other members of the council, this would have never been a debate.
Yeah.
They would have just done what they always do, put it on the credit card, and Jim wanted it put on the budget. So he came here and he made his case. Okay?
Yep.
I mean, he educated me a little bit on the issue. I didn't know everything about it.
Yeah.
And so the council meeting on that was very soon after that. It was a week later. I mean, it came up quick. It was June 17th, a day that will live in infamy, 2014. I will never forget this day. And this is where I sort of come in, is where I made a last-minute decision to actually go to the meeting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, see for myself what happened. I mean, I could have just watched it on. Maybe in retrospect, I almost wish I would have stayed home and just watched it on the internet. A lot of what ended up happening probably wouldn't have happened. And first, I have to commend Mayor Adams and the council. Let me commend 6 members of the council, because they had a fair, honest, open debate at a council meeting, which I don't know if I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
I mean, and 6 of the 7 members, and there were basically 3 options they talked about.
Yep.
Assessing it, doing this 60-40 thing, which they eventually did later, and then doing it on the budget. And it was passionate. Mm-hmm. It was, to be honest, I thought all of them had merit.
Yes.
Whether I agreed or disagreed, all 3 opinions had some merit to them. I hate assessments personally.
Yeah.
I would take away the city's ability to do it, but whatever. That's a charter reform. However, what I witnessed became a focal point of what happened. It's almost like nobody remembers anything about that meeting except what I said about it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny in retrospect. And I truly am torn as to whether I wish I would have attended or not.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I witnessed.
Yes.
And if you would have watched this on the internet, you'd have not picked up what I picked up. Because the camera was not on a certain person the entire time.
Only the person who was speaking.
Right.
Right.
And so it would have been something that you would not see. Now, when I was on the radio with Mitch Berg, this is what I told him. I'm talking about Councilman John Budiszewski.
Yeah.
I was sitting so close to Mr. Budiszewski that if I were Christian Ponder, I could have completed a pass to it.
That's not likely.
No.
So it was like you and I are sitting then?
No.
Okay.
No, it was not a handoff.
Okay.
I was sitting 10 yards from him. I mean, I was right behind where the city clerk sits.
Okay.
And I was not going there with any intention of dumping on anybody.
Yeah.
I was not going. I was going there to hear. I was going there to hear this debate. What I witnessed was maybe, and this is saying something considering some former people who used to be on this council.
Yeah.
Maybe the most despicable behavior I've ever seen out of a city official.
That is saying something.
It is really saying something.
Yeah.
And I saw, and this councilman has never denied it to this day. His supporters have never said I was wrong in what I witnessed.
Right.
I witnessed while other people were talking, including community members. But it was mostly other council members. Mr. Budiszewski was mocking them. He was rolling his eyes. He was laughing. He was saying smart-ass comments under his breath. It was disgusting behavior. And nobody else was doing that. Even Mark, Joe, none of them were doing that. You know, they all had their opinions, and of course John agreed with them. Wow, surprise. I'm sure they were whispering in his ear. But, I felt like when I went home, it was about 5 days before I posted something.
Yeah.
I went home and I watched the meeting because I wanted to see if you could pick that up. And the only thing you could pick up if you watched it was his smart aleck comment at Casey Peak.
Yeah.
He said something about a flip-flop. You couldn't really hear it on there. And then, it made no sense. And anyway, I just thought, okay, the people need to know he's up for re-election. And nobody's going to know what happened unless I point it out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because it's me,
okay,
and if it was you, it'd have been the same way, which it was later.
Right.
I became the issue, and not this guy's disgusting behavior. And I've read it. And so I went on to our blog. You can see it. Budashevsky has to go. It's probably the most popular piece around. In fact, I would argue it is. It's been Googled so many times, it's unbelievable. And I described what happened. Now, I will confess, and I don't know how much I regret this, but I did call him a jerk and a slimeball.
Yeah.
But I was describing his behavior while other council members, including one person from the community, were trying to make points and trying to argue their case. And just the disrespect shown was... I don't know if I can put an adjective on it that I really want to. It's just going to,
Yeah.
The more I say that's like that, the more, this crowd plays the victim, and that's
Right.
just their MO.
But it was just really disrespectful.
Disrespectful is a nice way to put
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's about the nicest thing I could say in retrospect. Mm-hmm. And John is somebody that previously I didn't have much of an opinion on. Mm-hmm. I remember when he first got on the council, I went to work sessions, and he didn't say much.
Yeah.
His vote was kind of unpredictable.
Yeah.
Once in a while he made a vote that you kind of, you kind of was okay, and then he'd make the total opposite argument a week later. It was really weird, but he was very quiet. He seemed to listen, and boy, is he not that anymore. And I think it's a direct correlation to the dynamics on the council and the fact that he is up running again. Mm-hmm. So I put that out there.
Yeah.
And all hell broke loose. I mean, is that a fair way to describe it?
Yeah. It absolutely was.
And to be honest with you, a couple weeks went by and I kind of forgot about it. I don't even think I posted on John again. I really don't. Mm-hmm. Until a work session on July 15th.
Yeah.
And personally, I think it's pathetic for... well, let me just describe what happened. And this was done on purpose. I don't believe the councilman who said this about me. I'm talking about Mark Hoffman. I don't believe a word he said.
Right.
I think it's phonier than a $7 bill. I think this was strategic. He ended a work session. It's not on audio tape.
Yeah.
So he knew we would hear it.
Yeah.
It was done on purpose. He said he wrestled with... I'm paraphrasing, but he said he wrestled with... first off, he brought copies of what I wrote to the council meeting. Yet he said he wrestled with whether to share it or not. Really? You stopped and made copies, which in and of itself made no sense.
Yeah.
And then he called me a malicious liar, which, okay, it's okay if he calls people names. That's fine. He can call me what he wants. I don't care. Mr. Hoffman doesn't scare me. Yeah. I'm just... Whatever, this is politics. You got to have a thick skin, okay? Mm-hmm. And then in the end, and this is really telling, he tried to drag Jim into it.
Yes.
And said, "Oh, Jim, you should be embarrassed." He said something like that.
Yeah, you were on their podcast.
Yeah, which was irrelevant to this. The outrage was fake. It was... and if Mr. Budashevsky wants to, he can have the guts to say something himself if you'd like to. But I don't buy Mr. Hoffman's outrage. And he basically hinted, and Mark's smart enough not to say this, that because I'm on a commission, I can't say things like this in public. My freedom of speech is limited because I'm a volunteer on a commission. Now that is pig-headed. It's arrogant. It's nothing more than a way to shut me up and try to intimidate me to be quiet. I got news for these people. That's never going to happen. So, what followed was, and I wrestled with this for a few days. I actually did wrestle with it. It wasn't fake. I decided, you know what? I'm not going to let them do this to me anymore. You don't want me to volunteer on a commission? I'm done from it. And these people appointed me, all 7 of them, knowing who I was.
Yeah.
I was doing TV and blogs long before I was criticizing this city,
Yeah.
long before I ever got on that commission. They knew what they were appointing.
Yeah.
I never lied to them. But they were using this as a way to attack Mayor Adams, by default, Casey,
Yeah.
maybe Julie to a certain extent,
Yeah.
and other people running for the council. It was so blatant. It was so fake. It was, quite frankly, I kind of, when it was over, I kind of just shook my head and thought, wow, I mean, they've got nothing better to do at a work session than talk about me.
Yeah.
It really is telling. Now,
Oh, go ahead.
so I decided to step down. I said, all right,
Yeah.
well, you know what? You don't want me as a volunteer, or you're going to try to threaten me, then you don't have me anymore. Go do it yourself. So that's what happened there. Now, you had an interesting visit.
And this is funny because you say that after all you said, John never said anything about you.
True.
Okay. So, I'm trying to remember the date off the top of my head. I can't, but I was sitting here at home doing some work, and I get a knock on the door. And who's there but Mr. Budashevsky? And the first words out of his mouth were, "Hey, I think I recognize you. You're Jason Bradley." And yes, I am. Did you know that your sign out front, who was for one of the other candidates, I might as well just say it because it is pertinent to the story. It was for Olga Parsons. That you're supporting raising taxes because you have her sign in your yard. And I said, I wasn't even willing to talk to him about Olga. What I said was, John, come on. You and I both know what the city finance director said about the Mill and Overlay project and how assessing is more expensive. And then he went on mumbling something about the 60-40 split, which I hadn't studied up on yet, and so I really didn't understand what he was saying about it.
We should mention 60% assessment,
Yes.
40% out of the budget.
40% out of the budget, yeah.
You know, that's just so people know.
So he said something about that, and I said, in fact, I've known her for a while, and I know that part of her platform is to reduce overall city spending. Because let me explain something. This is outside of this conversation with John here, just so that you all understand. Somebody can propose something where they spend money at the city level. That's not necessarily a tax increase if they decrease other spending to equal or lower total spending. It's only a tax increase if you're paying more when the total bill comes.
And we should mention that assessments are not on the budget, which
Yes.
is another little game that they like to play. They can throw a huge assessment on somebody. They don't call it a tax increase, but in fact,
It is.
It
You're
is-
paying the city for a service.
it is money coming out of the hands of you and into the hands of the city, regardless of what they call it.
Yes, it is a tax. So, at any rate, so I told John this information, that Olga wants to, from what I know, decrease overall spending. He said, have fun with your thoughts, and mumbled something as he left. And I said, well, have a really nice day. And
Well, what a
he said
charmer.
you did too.
What a
but,
charmer
yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
Gee. Boy,
And
way to
went
engage citizens, knock on a door and
Yeah.
badmouth,
Yeah.
lie about somebody who's
Yeah.
has a sign for somebody else in their yard.
Because I'll tell you this, I mean, Olga doesn't have a record to run on. She's not not an incumbent. Has never held an elected position anywhere. She doesn't say on her website that I plan to raise property taxes or that I plan to do this, which is going to unfortunately cost you more. There's none of that. So I don't know where he pulled this from, but I wrote an article the next day about my strange experience, and I think that's what I called that.
Strange visit.
A strange visit, and laid out exactly what I told you now. And so I thought, it's over. I hadn't heard anything else. He hadn't said anything. But I kind of had a hunch that he was still going around and telling people that she was for a tax increase.
And judging by the primary results, it worked so well. It was such a good strategy.
Yeah. Well, he went to the debate from the League of Women Voters, and I'm just kind of sitting back and watching this. And
No. Yeah. You weren't there.
No,
I was there.
you were there.
I was so angry I had to leave.
Yeah, I had to.
You watched it
I
on
had
the
to work.
internet.
I did.
Yeah.
But he mentioned my name and said Jason Bradley said. Well, you were there. Why don't you say?
What happened was he ended, and this is really a slimy thing he did.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is slimy. In the closing statements, he was the last person to speak. And it was a really bad job by the League of Women Voters. They did a pathetic job with this. It was terrible. Because that moderator did a terrible job.
Yeah.
Wouldn't let Olga respond, which is... I actually sent them an email the next day. They have yet to respond to me.
Oh, that's
Because,
typical.
yeah, I mean, they're too busy planting a garden or knitting a sweater or whatever they're doing. But he said... and he trashed Miss Lincoln as well. I mean,
Yeah.
Karen never said a word about taxes the whole time. He goes, my two opponents will raise your taxes, especially Olga. And there was a little bit of a mumbling from the audience.
Yeah.
And he goes, yes, Jason Bradley told me. And you can watch it. Go if you don't believe me, go YouTube the debate. It's right there on Channel 12's site. And Olga asked for a chance to respond. And by the way, the crowd reaction was extremely negative, except for the other two people running for election and one of their wives. Everything else was, everything else was just like, oh my God, I can't believe you said. But I mean, what incumbent? I've said this before. It shows you the dynamics of the race. The incumbent was attacking a challenger, showing you who he fears. Not telling the truth, showing what lengths he'll go to. And so that's how your name got dragged into it.
So, we had Mark calling out Andrew in a work session. A week later, we had John using my name in a lie, an outright lie, in a public debate. And then a couple of days later, I got the Sun Post. And here is one of the most bizarre guest columns I've ever seen from our former mayor, talking about an event that we had that we called End the Met because it was catchy, not because we're saying the Met Council must be abolished right now. You know, we wanted to discuss ideas about the overreach of this unelected organization that has taxing authority, and we have no say in. And all the cities seem to just nod their heads and walk along. And we want
counties.
And counties. And we wanted to talk about how to combat that, which it might mean abolishment. It might mean, hey, maybe our legislature should pass some laws that kind of restrict the power of it.
Can you get back to its original intent?
She wouldn't know because she wasn't there, yet felt free to write this whole guest column bashing an event she never attended.
Well, it was an opportunity to the whole point of it was to take a cheap shot at you and me.
Yes.
I mean, that was really what she was doing. And, if you read the article that was, because the Sun Post covered it.
Yes.
And I didn't know they were there until afterward. Mm-hmm. And, a few people got quoted. And just to back up a minute, we had Mark Corrin, who's the mayor of Oak Grove, who's dealt, and he's a former council member.
Yep.
So he's dealt with the Met Council. The Northern Lights is projected to go right through his city. And Matt Look, who is an Anoka County commissioner, who is actually on the County Transit Improvement Board, which deals directly. Now, Matt's there.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in lockstep with everybody who's there.
No, he's not.
But his insight was very interesting. And Keegan Iverson was on the panel largely to give a libertarian constitutional view, and I have to say he did that. Mm-hmm. He quoted the Minnesota Constitution. He talked about, unjust. He had all the budget figures with him. He had a lot of things to say, too. And it... It was 2 hours long.
And she took one quote out of the Sun Post
Right.
and wrote an article based on it.
Right. And, the former mayor doesn't want to have a debate. She's never wanted to debate. It's all about what can we do to, and her main theme of Community Salute, who we are,
Yeah.
is that we have no ideas.
Yeah.
As if, personally, I think that not wanting my neighborhood torn down and rebuilt is an idea.
Yeah.
Not wanting a road to be restriped when there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have to propose an alternative to that?
Yeah.
And I'll say this too. You and I are not in power. No. I don't spend taxpayer dollars.
Nope.
I'm not campaigning for anybody. I'm not a policymaker.
No.
But yet, I'm blamed. She accused us of grandstanding, which, like she'd effing know. Like she doesn't grandstand.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bizarre, but I think the premise of it is insightful. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, these things all happened, and look, I don't want to give them too much credit, but they all happened, it's kind of simultaneously.
Yeah.
That
It was all within a period of about a week.
right. Our group gets attacked.
Yep.
I get attacked.
Uh-huh.
You get lied about.
Yeah.
All in one little span.
So, and let's mention that the former mayor, Ms. Bowman, endorsed Mark Hoffman, John Budichevsky, and her husband, Joe Selton,
Right.
back in 2010.
Right, and of course, Joe's her husband. Mark was running unopposed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. She can endorse who she wants to.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to shut anybody up. I mean, that's just
But, I mean, they're a group. They're a little group. And they were when they were together on the council.
right, and they certainly are now, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They can be. I'm not trying to prevent anybody from talking, but I think if I saw an event out there that I disagreed with, what authority would I have to comment on it when I don't know what happened?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
what
write about things.
What she could have done was write a letter to the editor, saying, and
I love the Met Council.
well, or saying,
yeah.
there's a bigger issue here. There are consequences to if this were disbanded. She didn't do that. She took it as a chance to. And again, I can handle it.
Yeah.
The part I'm offended at is the idea that we don't offer. When I ran for mayor,
Yeah.
and I don't know if the former mayor has a short memory or if she's just willfully ignorant, I offered charter reforms, code reforms, specific cuts in the budget.
You had, what was it,
12 by 16.
12
I had
by 16.
12
that's what
things
it
I
was.
wanted to do.
Yep.
And I offered a vision. Now, she's free to disagree with that.
Yeah.
Clearly, she hates anything that I put my mind or name to. But to say we stand for nothing is sounds like something out of a focus group.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a talking point.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, the next thing that happened was I talked to Joe Bowen of the Sun Post on the phone. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, we have it right here.
Yeah.
We don't need to look at it. I've read it enough times.
I just smile at the headline, that's all.
And, I told him what happened. I told him my side of it. He went to Mr. Hoffman for his side of it, and I'm not sure that, again, that I buy what Mr. Hoffman said. But, I feel like, Joe did a pretty good job of laying it out without,
Yeah.
he did present both sides, I think, pretty well.
I think it was fair.
And, I just pointed out that name-calling's gone back and forth a million times. I'm not innocent of it.
Yeah.
I've seen what the former mayor has sent the current mayor in emails, which is vile and disgusting. She can do that if she wants to.
Yeah.
But Mark Hoffman sat with Renee Bowman on the council for 8 years, watched her act the way she acted, and sat there with his thumb up his butt. He never said a word. But now, all of a sudden, and the issue is that it was me. That's the issue.
Right.
all of a sudden now he courageously comes out there and tells me off. And I think what they were expecting was, me to sort of lose my cool or
Yeah.
but I just thought to myself, fighting, there's an old saying, you win the war, but to win the war you got to lose a battle.
Yeah.
And I said, it's a battle I'm not going to win. The Union lost the battle of the Second Bull Run, but they won the war. That's what and some people don't like that analogy, but that's how I viewed it. So, Mr. Hoffman claims it wasn't about my politics, which is baloney. It was 100% about it. He will not. Again, none of them have denied Mr. Budiszewski's behavior. None of them will condemn his actions. Which, okay, fine. I mean, they're his buddy. I mean, I don't expect that. But I don't think it's fair to, try to intimidate me into being quiet. And, because first off, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first thing. So that culminated in a letter to an article about it, and then you sounded off a little bit.
I did, and this wasn't planned at all. I mean, I didn't know your article was going to be that week, and I opened up the Sun Post. So
I didn't. Joe never told me when it was going out.
So I thought, I want to read my column because I was asked to, I was allowed to do a guest column.
Yeah, you were called out at a meeting, and you have a right to respond to it.
And so I did, and here I find Andrew's article in the same paper. We're getting all this press, and that's kind of what I wrote. Just introducing people to our group, because I thought there's a lot of people that are probably hearing about us for the first time. So it's good for them to understand what we really do,
and it's good to hear it from us.
Yeah,
I mean that's really critical. Is to and I thought the way you said it about we began this way, and it was really in direct result of council actions.
Yeah.
I mean, we never set out to form a group. That was what we're doing now.
Yeah.
I mean, really isn't something I don't think that we envisioned.
I didn't think I'd be here. I mean, 2008, I was fishing and I was happy. And now I don't get to fish at all.
Right. I mean, and I think just before you go any further, I think what bothers, I think what really gets under the skin of the four people we're talking about is the fact that they don't have a monopoly anymore on this council or over information. We're not doing anything that they couldn't do. Mm-hmm. They could do their own podcast. They could have their own blog. They could do their own TV show.
They could be the anti-community solutions.
They could be something.
Or maybe that's a bad name, or maybe that's the perfect name.
Well, maybe. I mean, maybe, why can't, the fact that we've put in all this hard work and we have had an effect, whether you agree with us or not on this issue or that issue or whatever, when we write something up, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
If you or I say something and put it on the blog, and John Budiszewski says something at a council meeting, what do you think gets heard more?
Is that a question like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around, does it make a noise, or are you being serious?
I mean, but I think that's what galls them. I think what galls them is this is for so long the city's been run by this clique, by this. The former mayor Pete Meitzema was part of this. That you had Dave Anderson was part of this. You had not necessarily bad people. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they ran unopposed. They were all long-term incumbents. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that the council was Mark, Joe, Renee, Dave, Lori Ann Moore, Gary Grant. I like Gary. Gary wasn't part of this, but he was a long-time incumbent.
Once in a while, I thought Lori had a good vote here and there, too.
I did too. And I think I thought she was a little more independent. I thought her differences were personality, not so much not so much views. But I agree with you that
she was one of the lone votes against the County Road 81 thing.
I mean, once in a while she came up with a good vote, and it just that was it. And if you had a mayoral election, you had something like Renee running against Mark.
Yeah.
And that's something that I believe in, too, is that voters deserve choice. They deserve a different vision. They deserve new people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't understand why that is, you know, a subject to demonize somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's, you look at the three that are up right now, and they're, you know, look, we're going to be here regardless of election results.
Right.
I mean,
we don't go anywhere.
Right. And their power, for lack of a better term, whatever happens in November, it's their power that's on the line.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, I think you're getting this this backbite because they realize they're not the biggest game in town right now.
Yeah.
And so and look, I mean, nobody likes being, you know, called out at. I mean, like, I'm not proud of somebody calling me a malicious liar, or somebody writing a rant in the paper claiming that, you know, I'm the king of name calling, or I don't know, have any new ideas, even though she knows that's patently false. I mean, nobody likes that, but I come back to the very beginning. Mm-hmm. What I did was criticize a councilman's behavior.
Yes.
However distastefully some people think I did it. Mm-hmm. That was the premise of that.
Yeah.
And no one wants to talk about that. They want to talk about me. And I think, again, it goes to show where their minds are.
Oh, absolutely. And the same thing. I mean, this article that I put out, I went through who we were, the things that we have done and stood for, whether it's training people, urging people to run for office, urging people to get on city commissions, educating people, the things where we have been involved in the community. And yes, there are lots of them, and it's not just Crystal. It's been across the metro. And that's another thing that they don't understand, is that we have a pretty far reach now. And it's not just a local issue. These local issues hit every city. And so I talked about that, and then I went on to talk about, well, this group, and they love to come at us and say that, oh, they're name callers, they're liars, they're this, they're that, but yet, how many times have you and I gone to a council meeting when Renee was still the mayor, and she would talk down to us, call us names, write things in emails or in the press where she was calling us names, things like un-American, conspiracy theorists, anarchists.
Well, and again, I mean, I can handle that. I mean, but it makes her outrage and Hoffman's outrage all the more manufactured. And again, I don't want to get into a name calling contest.
No,
I mean, but
I'm not going to say anything personally about
right.
her.
But but you got to remember, Renee's the type where if you disagree with her, her first instinct is to claim it's a personal attack and talk about how she's the victim of some. You know, if you disagreed with her about the fire department, well, you just don't care that I'm a great public official who's daring to ask questions. Nobody said you couldn't ask questions. What I disagreed with was one, the way it happened, behind the scenes. New Hope knew nothing about it. Citizens of Crystal knew nothing about it. We still to this day don't know what it would cost. None of that. It was all pissing match. She knows it. It's all just about power. And two, the fact that they're making choices where they're not getting public input until after. Now, that's not a personal attack on her. It's a criticism, A, of the process, and B, of the result. So, but again, this group, when the chips are down, it's kind of like a tiger hiding in the corner, where you tell the tiger to sit down and be quiet or quit growling, and they come out snarling at you instead of, if the former mayor wants to have a debate on the Met Council, I'm game.
Yeah.
I'm game, man.
A real debate?
Sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
You want to go out there and defend them? Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd
fine.
welcome it.
You may have some points, and he may have some points, and, it needs to be civil, though, and that's what we're not getting. And I I said it, right, in the article after, I talked about, I did address the John thing, right, because
he
called me out, and I said, my words were, it was patently false, what he said. I didn't call him a liar, but,
I will.
When you lie, what does that make you?
Yeah.
But I also called out, and it's weird, because my phone was blowing up during this thing. You just got mentioned.
Yeah,
you just got mentioned.
my fault. I'm sorry.
No,
I
not you. There were other people.
Yeah.
But that, and then also hearing from more than one independent person who aren't related afterwards, that during this debate, former mayor, and she was sitting with Mark, and I don't know if Mark was involved in this, and John was over. I don't think he was.
Mark,
and Joe was over there, and I think Renee had some friends maybe that were over there, and they were mocking the other non-incumbent candidates during the debate, and then afterwards they got in the face of some people and started trying to escalate arguments with them.
Well, that just shows again. I mean, the more they do that, the more they just hurt themselves, as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
Yes.
It doesn't say anything about us,
No.
and they keep calling me a liar, but they don't mention anything I lied about. I mean, Mark Hoffman called me a malicious liar at a work session. What did I lie about?
Yeah.
I sat there and described the councilman's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I described his behavior at other things. I had sources who explained to me what he did to the West Metro Fire representative in the private, or the not-so-private, interview sessions. The three of them hammered her. They try to do everything they can to not give Mayor Adams the smallest political victory, which is, again, what it was all about, was making sure Jim got no credit for anything. That's how petty they are.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when Mary Siri is her name, when she got appointed, John was like, oh, yeah, hey, you went through the process. It was wonderful. But, what are you talking about? You did everything to derail her.
Yeah.
But in front of the camera, it was a different Johnny B.
Yeah.
It was not the guy that was behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's something, again, I felt citizens needed to know. They needed to know that the guy, and look at the way he talked to you at your door.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that have to be known. And, you can have candidates who can disagree and still smile at you and say, well, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. And you can have some of the people that we have now. And I don't know when they're going to learn that, treating the people they disagree with such disdain is not winning them any fans.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I'll go on the record. I don't hate any of these people.
No.
I don't have any respect for Mr. Budashevsky at all, but I do respect even Renee, as hard as that might be to believe. She is a passionate advocate for all the things that I disagree with, okay? That's true.
There has been once or twice where you said that you've agreed with.
Hey,
some
when
things she said,
they put the council packets on the work session packets on the website, so you actually got to see what the council people. I wrote an email thanking the council. Renee and Julie were the only two responding, saying you're welcome in return.
Yep.
And I kind of made a joking comment like it's okay if I compliment you guys too. And they're both like sure. And I thought that was a good move. Renee was instrumental in the Crystal Small Business Association.
Yes.
Which I think is a smart idea.
Yeah.
I might disagree with what direction she wants to take certain businesses, or this business of what I believe the city does, picking winners and losers. And I think that there's some other things like zoning and codes that need reform to help businesses. I want all businesses to benefit, not ones that, not certain ones over certain ones.
Right.
But I don't. I don't know. I don't think that. I don't think it's 100%. For me, it's at the core. It's always been about issues for me. I mean, I would never get involved in something just to personally taint someone.
Yes.
I mean, it would be something that I couldn't see myself doing, just doing it for the sake of trying to destroy someone.
Right.
But, it was hard after the 81 thing to not look at the former mayor as a political adversary.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. I mean, I went there knowing nobody on this council but Gary, and Gary was on his way out at that time.
Yeah.
And he was sick, and he was not there very much. And I knew Mark a little bit. I didn't know anybody else up there. I had no reason to go there and walk away saying, I'm going to blankety blank all of you.
Yeah.
But her reaction to us and the reaction of a few other people got me to, I can't drop this. I've got to study up. I've got to learn everything I can. It culminated in me running myself, which was not planned then either.
No.
Absolutely not.
You know, and I'd say I'm a pretty educated guy, and I left there after the first time, and multiple times after speaking to them, and especially from Renee and Mark, feeling like, wow, they really think that I'm a moron. I felt really small. Here I was, first time speaking to a city council, and they made me, because I disagreed with them, feel like I was an idiot.
But what you don't understand was that was on purpose.
Yeah, right.
I mean, when I look back on it now, they acted the same way they did when we went and did Green Step.
Yeah.
3-4 years later.
Yeah.
It was no different. The issues were different. You and I were a bigger deal than we were previously. We could get that room full of people. And it was, but I mean, you saw the same lashing out that you saw again. It wasn't a conversation. It never was a conversation.
No.
My objections to that program were all based on local control. It was based on endorsing something the council clearly had not studied.
Yeah.
They were just jumping on a trend. I think city staff, and I'm speaking to one staff member in particular, has a personal agenda and should have been fired a long time ago. He would not be there if I were there. I'd find a way to get rid of him. He's a horrible. Well, I won't go any further than that. He just shouldn't be there because it's. I didn't know at that time how much influence they had. I didn't know. I thought it was the way it would be like if I were the governor and I had my cabinet, or the president. But it's the president.
Yeah.
Sending out the orders.
Yeah.
It's not the cabinet members directing the president.
Yeah.
But at the city level, it's the opposite. I didn't know they were lifetime employees. And it is eye-opening to see it. When you have a new governor, they don't keep the previous governor's people. They bring in their own people.
Yeah.
That don't happen at the local level.
Nope, it doesn't. So there has been just this contention, I think, building over a long time, and it's not that there's necessarily any hard feelings personally from us. I think for a while there was.
Yeah.
But, I mean you have to realize, especially where I live here, we were dealing with some sort of construction for like 4 years. Constant noise, constant vibration in the house.
Increases in traffic,
speed, lack of safety. Last winter I had to dig 3-4 cars out of banks because they were speeding around the curve here. I broke 2 shovels. So really frustrated, and I tried not to let that get personal. But, and that's the thing. It just seems like that's where some of them want it. And I want to say, you think that all this, we've like told you the whole story. There's still a couple more pieces to this that we haven't unearthed yet.
Well, and I would go further, you and I are considered public figures now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so are they.
Yeah.
I can't hide anywhere, and I know you can't either. And it takes a while to learn how to be a public figure. I go back to the first time I was ever accosted at a grocery store for what I thought. And I'd handle it so much better today.
Yeah.
Back then I wanted to argue.
Yeah.
I wanted to win an argument more than anything.
Yeah.
But you learn that you can't. Sometimes you just can't fight anymore, and there's people who care and are passionate are going to have those disagreements.
Yeah.
And you got to learn how to handle that. And what amazes me is I handle it 100 times better than these people who are in office.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've gotten email when I was on television. We get it once in a while in Community Solutions. I got one calling me a dickhead the other day. I didn't go on the blog and whine and wet my pants and complain about it and say that this person is, I mean, I've gotten email from the council, from the New Hope Council, telling me what an idiot I am and how I don't do research, which is bizarre, claiming I was telling them what was in their project that they actually said wrong at a council meeting. And, it's not for everybody. And I think the people who are successful, whatever your definition of success, in the political world, whether that's behind the scenes or as an elected official, it's in their blood to do it. It's in their DNA to go out and advocate for something, knowing a percentage of the people are going to hate it, and in turn might hate you.
Yeah.
And it's in your blood. If it were not in my blood or in your blood, we couldn't do what we do.
Yeah.
The first time we get criticized, we'd quit.
Uh-huh.
So it's in your blood. And that's why I can't understand how these people can think that they can do things and nobody's going to write about it, nobody's going to disagree with it, nobody's going to expose it, and their reaction is not to debate the issue.
Yeah.
Their reaction is to snarl back, who the hell are you? You don't stand for anything. You're just a loudmouth. And, I mean, I know behind the scenes that's probably what they say to their buddies about us.
Yeah.
Sure it is. It's not what I say behind the scenes.
No.
I don't think they're dumb. I don't think that they don't care about the city. But I will state, and I will not back off of this, that they're thin-skinned and they are taking our city in a direction that I don't want. Now, I could sit here and watch Ice Road Truckers and Storage Wars and listen to Barry Manilow, or I could turn this into action. And Renee's the ultimate hypocrite with this, because she said over and over, oh, well, nobody attended this meeting. We had an open process. Whoa. The people who showed up, you told them to go, heck with you. Yeah. The restriping on Douglas was a good example. When I was campaigning, I talked to people who attended that.
Yeah.
And the only people on Douglas Drive were invited, which was done on purpose, and they were told, we're going to do this change.
Yeah.
It wasn't, we're proposing this, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
And like the people who live on Douglas Drive, who chose to buy a house on Douglas Drive, are the only people affected by it.
Yeah, and
open process.
And go to now with Winnetka Hills and the mill and overlay. I mean, they're pretty much being told, hey, we're going to do this the way we want to, and we're not too concerned about how you want to do it. So,
and again, the council had choices. They could have delayed it a year, worked on some budget cuts, and maybe they could have put it in the budget. Yeah. But again, the council members who don't want that, who want assessments, because then that's not on the budget, and they can claim they're low tax people.
Yeah,
that's how they get away with that. That's what they're the ones who pushed that. And, it was a 4-3 vote, which I'm not shocked at. But and by the way, that we're going to get a huge tax increase this year, because before, liberals aren't interested in cutting a thing. I mean, name me. Mark Hoffman basically admitted in the Sun Post that we've cut everything down to, what was his phrase? It was like bare minimum levels. Laura Libby admitted at that council meeting she doesn't know what we can cut, and I'm going, well, that's an interesting attitude to take into a budget meeting.
Yeah,
I mean. Great conversation topics. I don't know what we can cut. Oh, okay. Well, why do we even have the meeting then?
Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds like they don't want to do the hard work. They don't want to tell somebody no. They don't want to make these choices. But you know what? That's what you're elected to do. It's not supposed to be an easy job. It's supposed to be, if all I had to do was elect people to maintain services and not increase taxes very much, which is the same. It's not a broken record. It's a broken Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that they say every year. I could elect my nephew to do that.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about it. Last year's budget was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was an absolute disaster. And I feel bad saying that because I have people I really respect on the council, and I can't believe they voted for it. It was horrible. And no hard work was done. That budget should have taken 10 minutes to do. There was nothing in it, nothing new. And I fear that we're going to be in for a large increase, and we're not going to know it until December.
Right.
You know, there is a preliminary budget that goes in September, but who
Yeah.
pays attention to that?
Nobody.
It's when, right. So,
Yeah.
you know. So I just, I do fear that, and we've got people running claiming that they're, not going to raise taxes under any circumstances, and yet they vote to do it, and they don't raise an eyebrow about it. And, just because, we chose to make certain information public. I mean, I'll bring up Mr. Budashevsky again, but that day, the week before that debate with Karen and with Olga, he voted for the 60-40 project, which is 2 tax increases.
Yes.
Then he runs to a debate saying, well, I'm never going to raise your taxes ever. Well, you just did twice. So, but again,
Yeah.
who pointed that out other than you and me?
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody. So, but again, what gets under their skin?
Mm-hmm.
We do that. We have a microphone.
Yeah.
When we talk, people listen. And I'm not saying that to be big-headed. I'm saying that because right now, lately, you and I say something and it's, it's out there quick. So.
Yeah, well, I just want to go back to the timeline a little bit,
sure.
quickly. No, this is fine because we're almost through it. But so I put out this piece that talks about all this stuff, the mocking and John lying and all this stuff. And also in that week, a friend of ours, Candace Otha, had a letter in there talking about Renee's response to our
Met Council.
Our Met Council. And, it was a pretty good letter. But then now, what was this now? 2 weeks later, Renee writes another letter as a guest columnist, which I thought you were only supposed to be able to do one every 4 weeks or whatever at the Post. But I don't know. Your business, however you want to run it. And
maybe they needed space that week.
I don't know how that could be. And this letter, it's just kind of sad. I read it and I just felt sad, not for ourselves, but more for Renee. I mean, she called Candace an Andrew Richter supporter, or Andy Richter supporter, because she knows you so well, apparently.
I guess so.
And then trashing you, and Candace is a private citizen, and technically, I guess we're public figures, but we're as much a private citizen as she is, being a former mayor. As she said, she was a private citizen about, I don't know, 3-4 times in the column, and then ended her tagline with "I used to be this, but now I'm a private citizen," and just trying to say that we're lying about private citizens, and Mark had every right to. But you know what?
Okay, well let me jump in there.
Yeah.
Does Mark have every right? Yes.
Yeah.
Does that mean it was a good thing or a smart thing or necessary? I mean, I've never, and I go on the record with this, I've never tried to shut anybody up.
Right.
Renee's free to write a letter every week. I don't care. She's not relevant to what we do.
Right.
And if that were the case, then when she quit being mayor, we'd have shut down. If it was all about her.
Right.
And I think there's part of... Look, I think, I think she took losing hard.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. I lost an election and lost my job in the same week. You don't think that was difficult? Yeah. I didn't cry about it. I didn't lash out at the people who beat me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was sad about it that the voters of the city decided not to go with me. Yeah. But I think that So that's an emotion I can understand. What I can't understand is, and I have not read what you're talking about, but I know of it. I'm debating whether I'm going to read it or not. I won't learn anything by reading what she says.
You won't.
Again, the whole idea that one side can attack but another side can't, that we all know she doesn't want an exchange of free ideas. The whole idea we don't stand for anything, which is patently absurd.
Yeah.
It's just I feel sorry for her.
Yeah.
I mean, I do.
And that's what I felt as I read it. I wasn't, I used to laugh at the things she wrote because they were absurd, and I thought, I didn't get angry. Like, she clearly gets angry when she writes. I felt really sad for her. I know she's been through some hard stuff, and, when she was mayor, as a Christian guy, I was praying for her and that she'd get wisdom, and that she'd have the ears to hear it, so that the best stuff could be passed at the city level. I don't think she heard those things, and maybe I can't say I have all the answers either. Maybe she did, and I'm wrong, but I prayed for that nonetheless, because it's important to me that the best people possible are running our city, and if I don't think we have the best people, then that something happens where I see some sort of change or flashpoint where there's like a new direction, right? And it's just kind of seemed to be this downward spiral. And like I said, I know she's been through some really tough stuff, and I feel for her. Everybody at some point has to deal with personal tragedy and things that kind of challenge their character, And
But what I agree. But how you react to those say a lot about your character too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel really sad for the way that this comes out, and just the continued personal attacks, and that you can't seem to move past a certain point.
Well, I just like to know if somebody's going to call me a liar, they could at least have the intellectual honesty to specifically challenge what I say. I mean, if I'm wrong about a figure or about what happened at a meeting or something, but no one to this day has ever said that to me. Mark Hoffman calls me a malicious liar. Doesn't mention a thing I lied about.
Yeah,
he's just whining that I'm a bigger deal than he is. Sorry to say it, and that's what he's upset about.
That's it. I mean, and her article didn't talk about what I said with her making faces and mocking people at the debate.
What's she going to do?
Any of that stuff. Yeah, she totally ignored everything. All the facts that I presented in my article was all about you, and
well,
it's just I feel really bad, and I hope that if you're listening, you find some peace and take up a hobby and I don't know. Hopefully you'll have some happiness. You have been married to Joe since a couple of years now, and hopefully that's good for you. And,
well,
I don't know.
I mean, I won't stand in the way of true love.
No.
So, I'm just. It just amazes me, and I don't say this in a mocking way or anything like that, but it amazes me how. People can't show any humility and do some self-reflection. I can tell you that when I lost, I mean, because I had a lot of time on my hands too.
Yeah.
I mean, I really did sit down and reflect on whether I still believed in what I believed, but it was hard to escape my past in a way. I mean, It was hard to change people. If people thought I was a blowhard, it was hard to go to their door and change their mind. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel that I am. I don't feel that I do that. I feel like I say things that either about things that haven't been done before, and I've challenged public officials when they're not used to being challenged. I mean, if you're the president of the United States, you got 100 million critics. You know, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
If you're on a city council, you might have nobody following what you do.
Yeah.
And we've filled that vacuum, and they don't like it. They don't like that we exist. They don't like that our microphone is equal to theirs, and in fact, it's much bigger. I mean, I'm not saying that to be big-headed. I'm saying, like I said before, when they say something at a council meeting, or we report something, what is the bigger story? Usually it's us.
Yeah.
Especially lately. So, you know, the idea that we got to where we are by standing for nothing and telling lies is so ignorant. It's just so sad. It's just sad. Yeah. And it's sad that you can write an entire article. Now, I'll admit, I'm not going to criticize it because I haven't read it. I'm not going to pull a Renee, and I know enough about it, but that, you know, you can say I have no ideas, say that, you know, I'm a liar and I don't know how to tell the truth, and not give one example of where I did not do so. So, you know, and I'd like to know from, you know, John Budashevsky, did you not do that at that council meeting? I'd like to hear. I offered to chat with Mark Hoffman. I told Joe Bowen I would sit down with Mark. I would.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from him. I'm not going to. Okay, fine. You think I lost 5 minutes of sleep over it? No. But, you know, I'm not willing. I'm willing to open the door. I'm willing to take people who have, you know, said what they've said about me in the paper and whatever, and set that aside.
Yeah.
And I will reach out and do that. I even reached out to Karen Lincoln the other day. I sent her a message saying, thank you for running. I hope you stay involved. She said, thank you, and I will in return. Oh, you know, it was... I am glad she ran.
Yeah. You know, and conversely, I mean, John is one of my city council people.
Right.
And I copied him on a note that I sent to him and the mayor and Julie, and all the things that I've been seeing wrong with this area, with the speeders and the medical center and fights happening in the parking lot of the medical center and you name it. Didn't hear a thing back.
From John.
From John.
You heard from...
I heard from the mayor and I heard from Julie. And I heard from Ann, the city manager. Didn't hear a thing from John. He didn't bring it up when he came to my door. He didn't talk about it any time afterwards.
I've never had John respond to me even when I didn't know him.
Yeah, and he yet wants my vote. Wants me to think that he will represent me well.
He wants you to think that every 4 years. The other time in between, it doesn't matter. He's hoping you forget.
Yeah, I don't know. But it just, I think about it, and I see a group that they're probably kind of desperate. You know, you have somebody that lost an election. You have 3 people that got a cumulative 29% in the primary, and you see a group that from back when Renee was the mayor, maybe got 1,000 hits a week on their blog, and is looking to triple that right now.
1,000 hits a month if we were lucky at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, at the beginning it was less than that.
It was bad, and I mean, but I think there is a tinge of, I'm going to say it, a tinge of jealousy, and that sounds bad to say it, but there's a tinge of, who are these people? Where did they come from? You know, this is our town. Who are these people that come in here and set the tone for an issue? And I think they just have not come to grips with the fact that it's not the good old days, and those good old days are gone, and they're gone forever. They're never going to come back. The days of them getting together with Hennepin County to throw a tax on us and us not finding out about it till 6 months later, those days are gone.
That's like saying, you know, well, the NSA didn't used to monitor everything we did. Well, those days aren't coming back either. Yeah. We've progressed past that, you know, and it's, you know, we've just got to adapt, and we got to figure out where are we now and how do we make it better. You know, so I'm looking forward to their ideas and our ideas and seeing what wins out. You know, let's figure out from today where we're at. How do we get to where we need to be to make Crystal a better city? Not this worked in the past, so let's just keep doing it. because it really didn't work, or we wouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, again, I think that's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my opinion. It's going to take a lot of new people, a lot of new staff,
Yeah.
a lot of engaged citizens. It's going to be, here's nothing happens overnight, and we haven't happened overnight either.
No.
I mean, it's been a long process to do what we do, and my whole spiel is, I mean, if I have to take the guff, that's fine with me. I mean,
Yeah.
it bothers me to a certain extent because when people say things about you that aren't true, and
Yeah.
and that it's, it is hard to keep a sense of humor about it sometimes.
Sometimes.
But it also is, usually stuff like that says more about somebody else, and
Yeah.
they want to spout off at me in the paper. I don't know what that gets them. I don't know who they're talking to, but I think people read that and probably react negatively to it.
Yeah.
So that's
But-
just me.
Sometimes, you fight that feeling of kind of feeling bad. At the same time, you kind of wear it as a badge of honor. Because I've always been told that if somebody's not upset with you and really doesn't like you, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, I have a better saying. If you don't have anything bad to say about somebody, come sit by me. That's my saying. So,
Yeah.
so that's,
Funny.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, just to wrap it up. I mean, that's sort of what happened. I hope you get something out of it by hearing it from us, and knowing, just knowing what. And I would also throw this out there: if you want to get involved, and there's an old saying, you can't fight City Hall. I don't believe that, but if you fight City Hall, you're going to get raked over the face a few times, and this is a prime example of two people trying to make a difference, trying to stop some things from happening, trying to get people to wake up. It's what happens when you do that. Mm-hmm. So that's just the price we have to pay.
It is. And in fact, I would say there is a way to fight City Hall, and we've more or less, I wouldn't say we've solved the problem, but I would say
the
that
work's never done.
it's never done. But I think that we've kind of figured out how you got to do it. There's a method to the madness, and so we want to be able to teach you how to do it. So get a hold of us. Email us at comsolutionsmn@gmail.com. Go to our blog at communitysolutionsmn.wordpress.com. Follow us on Twitter at ComSolutions. Join our Facebook group. There's a lot of people there that are discussing issues all the time. And everybody's voice together just kind of adds to the discussion.
I would agree, and I would add one other thing, too. There's other little things to do. Write a letter to the editor.
Yeah.
Saying what you think about something. And contact your council members, too. You don't have to contact us. I mean, it would be nice to hear from people.
Yeah.
Not that we don't, but it would be nice to hear more. They all have email. They all have phone numbers. They all live in,
Oh, you absolutely should contact the people that represent you. That's the only way they know that you don't agree with them. Some of them might get it, and others you're gonna find the same thing that we found with some of the people here.
That's true.
And it's just figuring out how to work with that and join a commission. Get involved in your city. Join a commission, whether it's parks, whether it is
Environmental quality charter.
So those are the things that can help you make a difference.
And you know what? If something, I think another thing that's very important, just real quick, is watch the council meetings.
Yeah.
Go to a work session. Listen to the audio. Go to a planning commission. See what it's all about. I went to a lot of work sessions and council meetings. And this is, of course, before they were recorded. Back prior to running for office. And even though I didn't win, I'm glad I went to all of them. Because you really got to see... First off, it validated a lot of things that I thought.
Yeah.
And it also changed my mind on a couple of things I saw the dynamics. I found city staff members I liked, city staff members I didn't. I found council people behind the scenes would say something I agreed with more than I thought. And it changed my view on a few people, Janet Moore being one.
Yeah.
Janet just got shouted down a lot. She didn't have the personality to be in politics. She's a nice little kitten, but she's not... she doesn't have the... this is not an insult. I like Janet. Yeah. It's just... She didn't have the personality, a dominant personality like Renee could just... cower her into silence.
Right, and she would probably do well under the new management because Jim lets people talk and looks for people to give their input.
According to John Budashevsky, he can't say a word. That's
well,
what
he doesn't.
You know. Well, whatever Mark and Joe say, that's what he says. So it doesn't matter anyway. So, well, I think that pretty much wraps up, the story. And again, I mean, I'm not trying to make this about me or make this about you. They're making it about us. For me, it's about the issue, and it's about a certain, more than one councilman's behavior, what they're saying about people, and what they'll do to get your vote. And there is with Mr. Budashevsky, there is nothing he will not do to get your vote. And judging by the election results, he needs a change in strategy.
Yeah.
I don't know how he looks at that and is proud or confident. And look, I'm saying if anybody were an incumbent and got 26% and nearly got voted out by 8 votes, I don't expect him to say anything publicly, but you gotta wonder if the tactics that are being used are going to continue or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have my idea on where I'd put my money, but I am a betting man, so I won't say it out loud.
Yeah.
So. Well, I think we've gone on long enough.
Yes, we have. So that's episode 9 in the can, and we can't thank you enough for tuning into this and spending so much time listening to us blabber on, and hopefully you're getting something out of it. Hopefully you're getting geared
I discuss, you blather.
Hopefully you're getting geared up to change your community too. And like I said, if you have any interest at all, give us an email, comsolutionsmn@gmail.com, and we would love to come talk to your group, talk to you individually, whatever it takes. We want to see more people get involved because really local politics is the most ignored out of any form of politics, and it's the one that affects us the most. So with that, go forward and have a great week. Enjoy the rest of your summer because it's winding down and school's starting and Common Core will be in full swing.
Geez, so. We're a couple weeks from hunting season.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. Pass the word on to your friends and have a great one. Talk to you later.